Poverty can be defined in a variety of ways. Using the basic needs perspective, poverty is seen as a lack of resources to fulfill basic human needs, including food, health, and education. The word poverty is the unofficial name for this legislation first introduced by the United States President Lyndon B. Johnson during his State of the Union address in 1964. This legislation was proposed by Johnson in response to a national poverty rate of around 19%. The speech led the United States Congress to pass the Economic Opportunity Act, which established the Office of Economic Opportunity to administer the local application of federal funds targeted against poverty. As part of the Great Society, Johnson believed in expanding the federal government's role in education and healthcare as poverty reduction strategies. These policies can also be seen as a continuation of Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, which ran from 1933 to 1937, and the Four Freedoms of 1941. Johnson stated, "Our aim is not only to relieve the symptom of poverty, but to cure it and above all, to prevent it." The legacy of the War on Poverty Policy Initiative remains in the continued existence of such federal programs as the Head Start, Volunteers in Service to America, the Federal TRIO programs, which are federal outreach and student services in the U.S. designed to identify and provide services for individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds and job corps. On December 12, 2007, former President Bush signed Public Law 110-134, Improving Head Start for School Readiness Act of 2007, reauthorizing the Head Start program. This law contains significant revisions to the previous Head Start Act and authorizes Head Start through September 30, 2012. It is the purpose of this subchapter to promote the school readiness of low-income children by enhancing their cognitive, social, and emotional development. The OEO launched Project Head Start as an 8-week summer program in 1965. The project was designed to help end poverty by providing preschool children from low-income families with a program that would meet emotional, social, health, nutritional, and psychological needs. Head Start was then transferred to the Office of Child Development in the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare by the Nixon administration in 1969. President Johnson also announced a second project to follow children from the Head Start program. This was implemented in 1967 with Project Follow-Through, the largest educational experiment ever conducted. In 2011, 46.2 million people in the U.S., which is approximately 15% of the overall population, were living below the poverty line. This was the highest rate since 1993. In Houston, Texas, the population that is in the poverty level as of 2016 is 22.5%, and children below the poverty level are 22.2%. Poverty happens mainly in areas where community life and values have been destroyed. Poverty occurs in most countries but appears to be more prevalent in countries with high populations and less industrialized nations. Policies are essential fundamental to the society. To promote general welfare, policies are developed in response to the existence of a perceived problem or an opportunity. Policy and program goals are focused on removing structural barriers and increasing access, choice, and opportunities that can lead to client empowerment. The effectiveness of the programs are judged not only on whether they achieve societal goals, but also on whether outcomes for clients are consistent with clients' own goals. Policies and programs are developed and guided towards helping people in need for purposes of poverty alleviation. Poverty and policies and programs also address other effects that arises from poverty, such as crime and mental conditions such as depression, by giving people an opportunity to get back on their feet. A policy solution is important because they form the framework that allows citizens to live within their basic rights, with access to some of the most basic social amenities. In the U.S., programs such as the Head Start Act and the Economic Act, temporary assistance for needy families, Medicaid, and the SNAP program have been established to address some of the pressing social issues. Manifest goals of the Head Start Act policy is to provide a unified national voice which serves as a means to influence federal legislation and policies that impact Head Start children and families, and to provide high-quality professional development opportunities and other support services for Head Start staff and parents. Head Start is a program of the United States Department of Health and Human Services that provides comprehensive early childhood education, health, nutrition, and parent involvement services to low-income children and their families. The program's services and resources are designed to foster stable family relationships, enhance children's physical and emotional well-being, and establish an environment to develop strong cognitive skills. Through many organizations, the policy provides programs to assist other financially challenged families. Programs such as providing grants to colleges and other educational institutes to help students from low-income families and persons 18 years and older whose inability to read and write English hinder employment. Provide assistance to low-income rural families and migratory workers, supporting very small businesses by providing loans and guarantees. Provide training and work experience for persons who are unable to support or care for themselves or their families. Head Start programs serve low-income and vulnerable children between 3 and the age of compulsory school attendance, usually 5. There are several criteria through which a child may be eligible to participate in the program, and these are: the child lives in a family with an income below the federal poverty line, the child lives in a family receiving public assistance, example, temporary assistance for needy family or supplemental security income. The child lives in a family that would potentially be eligible for public assistance in the absence of childcare. The child is homeless. The child is in foster care. At least 10% of children actually enrolled under each Head Start agency must be children with disabilities. The Head Start program delivers service via classroom, occasional home visits, as well as private agencies. Part of the government's thinking on poverty was influenced by new research on the effects of poverty, as well as on the impacts of education. This research indicated an obligation to help disadvantaged groups, compensating for inequality in social or economic conditions. Head Start was designed to help break the cycle of poverty, providing preschool children of low-income families with a comprehensive program to meet their emotional, social, health, nutritional, and psychological needs. A key tenet of the program established that it is culturally responsive to the communities served, and that the communities have an investment in the success through the contribution of volunteer hours and other donations as non-federal share. Head Start is administered by the Office of the Head Start, which falls under the Administration for Children and Families within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The central office of OHS allocates funds directly to Head Start agency, and 10 regional offices of OHS allocate funding to traditional Head Start and early Head Start agencies. The agencies then administer funds to the Head Start centers and home-based providers within their programs. Head Start's organization charts show the agencies responsible for program administration and the flow of funding from the federal to the local level. The Head Start Act and the Economic Opportunity Act, the half-day preschool program for poor school children ages 3 to 5, seems to produce some gains initially, but the advantages begin to fade as soon as the children enter kindergarten and have altogether disappeared by the time the child reaches 12 or 13, education specialist reports. Critics say that Head Start programs are only as good as the teachers involved. Smaller programs can hire the best teachers and get results, but larger programs attract mediocre teachers, which may be the reason any gains made tend to fade swiftly. According to the final report of the Advisory Committee on Head Start Research and Evaluation, submitted August 2012 to the Secretary of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, the following two recommendations are provided. Implement the strongest and most current evidence-based practice that either 1. benefit all children, or 2. are tailored for population subgroups. Continue to develop and test new refinements, particularly for specific subgroups, thereby further building the evidence. Further improve continuity and coordination of early childhood services, beginning during the perinatal period and continuing to age 8. Thank you all very much for listening.